has been instrumental on every single issue. But I gotta tell you a story. Oh yes. Let me just tell you a story. I've been with him since the very, very beginning. A lot of people might not be able to say that. But from the very beginning, I took him around. And one of the places I took him was what? Do you remember that first time I took you down the street to Slade's? For some fried chicken? Unbelievable. The fact of the matter is that a governor, that a city councilor, that a state rep, all of us have to be unafraid of going where our people are. And that's where voters are. Also good music and good food. It is a business in the African American community, so that's where he went with Gloria Fox. He's been there several times since then. I heard. Several times since then. This is a man that will be hard. It will be hard for our next governor, though she will do it, our next governor's shoes to fill. But the fact of the matter is that we're all here for the same reason, to get the vote out for Martha Coakley, the next governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And as I talk about her, the sister that I'm going to be voting for, that all of the people in my community whose voice has been questioning whether or not we can win, because they've been looking at those polls, all of those folks will be convinced by the end of this weekend to do the right thing. And as I bring the governor up to the microphone, finally, because people have been waiting for that, the fact of the matter is that we're all excited about this. Now, he's been all over the state. I've seen him on Facebook. I've heard his words on Facebook. He's been fired up and ready to go and ready to work for the next governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But I have to introduce our governor, Governor Deval Patrick.
Look at this team. And look at you. Gloria, thank you so much. I appreciate the generous introduction. I'm so glad to see you all here. And I'm glad to have listened to the previous speakers who said everything I need to say and everything that needs to be said. So I'm done. Everybody get out there. I just want to underscore two really important lessons I've learned that have been alluded to already. One was a point that Sonia made so well about how important partnership is. In fact, how indispensable it is. Often, I get to go around the Commonwealth and around the country and brag about the fact that we are at a 25-year high in employment in the Commonwealth, that we are #1 in the whole nation in economic competitiveness, in student achievement, in healthcare coverage, in veteran services, in energy efficiency, in entrepreneurial activity. I get to go around and brag about the fact that for each of the last 8 years, unlike the previous 16, every single budget has been in balance, and we have the highest bond rating in the history of the Commonwealth. I get to brag about that. I'm proud of bragging about that. But it would not be possible without partnership. So when you go to the polls, somebody said vote up and down the ticket. Do it not just because the Democrats have the right ideas and the right candidate. Do it because the Democrats understand partnership. It makes a difference. And I thank you for making that point. I also wanted to underscore a point Ayana made about how important it is to see everybody. You know, one lesson I've learned in this job is that there are a handful of people who have all the resources and connections and influence to assure their interests on Beacon Hill no matter who the governor is. It doesn't matter. There are people who get their phone call returned from the governor. They know how to get a meeting with the governor. They don't care whether the governor is a Democrat or Republican. I work with many of them. A lot of them are good folks. So we all work with them. But whether your interests are heard and seen depends exactly on who the governor is and whether the governor sees you and is thinking about you. You know, for the last 8 years, what we've been trying to do is to make sure that the powerless or the less powerful got to share access with the powerful. That the folks who don't have connections have a connection to their government, and particularly to their governor. And that ought to matter, because that's why I'm a Democrat. We get that. We see you. We govern for everybody. And that's what Martha's talking about, right? Yep. You can't be, I mean, just compare where they are from a policy point of view. Yeah. One, our candidate is talking about early education for every child, not just the kids whose parents can pay for it. The other candidate is talking about tax breaks for big companies that don't need them and haven't asked for them. Right. Doesn't it tell it all? Our candidate is talking about being able to earn the ability to stay home with a sick child or a sick parent without losing a day's pay. What's the other one talking about? Tax cuts and shrinking government. The same message we heard 4 years ago, and 4 years before that, and for 16 years. And by the way, the fact that the messenger is smiling this time does not change the message. We see everybody. And one other thing. The Republican candidate, look, I'm a Democrat who believes you don't have to hate Republicans to be a good Democrat. Right? We don't. We don't need to be about what they're against. We need to be about what we're for. But I have to say that the Republican nominee had an authenticity problem before the fish story. Remember, 4 years ago, the Republican nominee wasn't sure there was such a thing as climate change. He's figured that out now. 4 years ago, his idea of economic stimulus was to lay off 5,000 state workers. This time around, maybe it's a good idea to have enough social workers to deal with the children and families who need services at DCF. Forget 4 years ago. What was it, 15 years ago? He thought hide-the-ball management in the form of the Big Dig plan was a great idea. This year it's kind of, it's not that big a deal. It is a big deal. It was just a few months ago that he thought the Supreme Court's decision that said bosses can tell their women workers whether they get access to reproductive health care was no big deal. Suddenly, a little while after, he said, well, maybe it is a good deal. A big deal. It's important that your point of view come not from your campaign consultants, and instead come from your understanding of humankind. And more to the point, I don't think we need a candidate or a governor with an authenticity problem. We need the real deal. We need Martha Coakley as our next governor. I can't emphasize enough the importance of our leaders, your leaders, seeing everybody. And I want to tell you a story, and this one is true. Some of you will remember, and a lot of the folks here worked on Corey reform a few years ago. And I understood the Corey system from some while ago, or I thought I did, but starting about a decade ago, I was hearing a lot from people when I started first campaigning, who were telling me about how Corey was effectively preventing them from getting back into the workforce. They paid their debt to the society, they'd done their time and paid their fine, but they couldn't get, and they were ready to get back into productive life. They couldn't because of the way our Corey system worked. And time after time, folks said, that ought to be fixed. And working with this legislature and with many, many of you at the grassroots, we got a good reform done. And on my desk to be signed, I think it was 4 years ago. And we decided to go out and sign it at Freedom House in Roxbury on the hottest day in the history of civilization. In un-air-conditioned Freedom House. And there were hundreds of people there, all excited. I was excited, but everybody was wilting. And after signing the bill, one of the people who was there gave me his cell phone, and he said, "Talk to my friend." And I took the cell phone in the midst of all this chaos, and I said, "Hello?" And he said, "Governor, I want you to know the bill you just signed is going to change my life." And I said, "Well, thank you." And I gave the guy back his cell phone. Chapter 2 in that story was a week ago Tuesday. I was out in Springfield, and I arrived early for an event, and yes, it does sometimes happen. And we went to a restaurant down by the Basketball Hall of Fame to get some lunch. We were a little early. The lunch rush hadn't started. We ordered some burgers, and we were waiting in front. And a guy walked up in chef's tops, and he said, "Are you Governor Patrick?" You know, gave me that double take, which I get a lot. I attribute that to people, you know, I'm taller on TV. See? And he said, "Are you Governor Patrick?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you remember signing the Corey bill?" I said, "Of course I remember signing it." He said, "Do you remember talking to a guy on the cell phone that day?" And I said, "Well, come to think of it, yeah, I do." He said, "Well, I was that guy." He said, "And when we had that conversation, I was in jail." He said, "I got out of jail and got this job on account of Corey reform." He is the executive chef at that restaurant today. Here's my point. Here's my point. The policies we talk about are not abstract debate topics. There's a human soul behind these decisions. There is a child behind those school line items. There is a person in need of help and a way up and forward behind mental health funding or health care funding. There is somebody's way to and from school or work every time we make a decision to invest in transportation or not to do so. When we grow the economy out rather than just up to the well-connected, that's about real people having a way not to have government solve every problem in their lives, but to help them help themselves. That's what it means to be a Democrat. Go out and make that point to everybody you know. Stop talking just to people who already agree with us, because we are about governing for everybody and lifting everybody. We do that, we win the right way. And Maura Healey will be our next Attorney General, Roger Coakley will be our next governor, and more to the point, all of us will have a chance. Thank you.
All right, everyone. So, my name's Matt Bennett, Chairman of the Ward 8 Dems, and I just want to say thank you to everyone, all the electeds and community leaders that came here today. This is great. Look at this turnout. I mean, this is incredible. Give yourself a round of applause. I want to say we've had an incredible 8 years, but we ain't done yet. So let's, if you guys look over here, we got Michael Falcone. Mike, where are you? All right, guys, we're canvassing this weekend. You know, you're here, and that's, thank you. Come on, it's not enough. We got to do more. We're going to win, and we're going to win on Tuesday. So if you guys go to the back corner, we've got Michael Falcone here.